So with the working say something, I'm back from to it. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and you always watch the full video.
There's no
Shout out to
self-defense
90 J.
because if you are afraid the day before where you have to take a weapon to school, why not notify your parents? You getting ready to run track with other kids and you got a knife on you. No, man, you got to go to jail.
Talking about he had a knife. You damn right. If you a black man living in America, you better be walking around with a talking about he had a knife. You got white boys riding around with guns and y'all crying about a knife.
The hard part that cost me is I lost my son and his brother.
Again, in this world where it's too many bad people that like in life. So like you gotta be protected. But I think on that clip for Charleston White, I think he was talking about a kid at a track meet. On that aspect, you take a thing to a track meet, and in the midst of the track meet, you got it. That's kind of crazy. But for the self defense thing, you do gotta tell somebody. Like in California and LA, I don't even think we have a self defense thing, bro. And I think in order for you to have one, it gotta be documented. It gotta be like, all right, this person is sending you text messages, right? Or this person is calling you constantly, threatening you. You got to record them calls. You got to report it to the police. So therefore, they know. So therefore, if something happened, they know it's for a fact that you had to protect yourself because this person is letting you know that they're going to do something to you. But if you don't have that, more than likely they're not going to believe you. Now, is it saying that you still might beat it if you got a good lawyer? Yeah, probably.
Was holding him, trying to hold the blood in, and he passed. My son watched his brother die in his arms. I need a break.
Jeff, first of all, my entire heart rests in your hands. I would be in my position, not even as somebody even knew your son, but somebody that shares the same understanding. I grew up as a 17-year-old young white man too, and I grew up in fear of my life around black people because they were killing and robbing people around me all the time. And I don't understand, as I was a father, you could sit idly by and not condemn the culture that killed your son.
Are you done?
Yes, I am, sir.
Okay, my turn to speak. You are part of the problem, my friend.
A confrontation between two teens left one dead and the country divided. In this video, we're going to be breaking down the criminal case of Karmelo Anthony. April 2nd, 2025, it was 10 a.m. when the Staley Middle School resource officer heard over the radio there was a stabbing at the school track field. Frisco police would alert nearby officers an athlete was the victim, and the suspect was a black male wearing a gray hoodie and blue sweatpants. The school officer rushed to the stadium where two teens told him the victim was under the Memorial High School tent. Approaching the tent, an adult would point out the suspect, who remained on the track separated from the officer by a chain link fence. The officer commanded the suspect to keep his hands in the air, and the suspect complied, saying, "I was protecting myself." As the officer placed the suspect in handcuffs, the suspect said, "He put his hands on me." The officer sat the suspect on the ground while advising backup over the radio. He had the alleged suspect. The suspect then stated, "I'm not alleged, I did it." By this point, the suspect had the right to remain silent.
Yeah, you should have stayed silent.
Have the ability. While walking him to the police vehicle, the suspect became emotional, crying hysterically as he said, "He put his hands on me. I told him not to." While in the back seat, he then asked officers if the victim was going to be okay. The suspect would identify himself as 17-year-old Karmelo.
Look, mind you, we don't know what happened so far yet, right? But thinking back on what Charleston said, because I think more like he was talking about this situation. When it comes to a pocket knife, your intentions ain't to do something to somebody, but it is to protect yourself if something happens. A lot of people have pocket knives. I keep a pocket knife. Just Never know what might happen. Hey, it could be the seatbelt. You sadly, hey, I'm knocking on wood. You get into a car accident, the seatbelt thing can like look, this part right there, that little hook can cut the seatbelt. If you didn't know, because sometimes the seatbelt thing might get stuck. This can cut that. So therefore, hey, you never know. It ain't always for people. It's just in case you need it.
Anthony, a student from Frisco Centennial High. While this was going on, athletic trainers along with the Frisco Fire Department were attempting to save
But I don't
the
think
victim.
students can have
The weather
pocket knives.
turned to
Though.
a heavy downpour of rain, causing the fire department to place a tent over the victim. A police officer began using his phone to photograph the crime scene, as others began taping off the area and moving non-essential people out of the stadium. Officers were informed the weapon used had been tossed, with a witness stating it was in the bleachers. Officers discovered the folding knife, partially open and still bloody, deciding to cover it with a tarp. An officer grabbed a backpack to weigh the tarp down, noticing it was the only backpack from Centennial High, as all the others were from Memorial. It was later discovered this was the suspect's backpack.
Oh, he didn't even go
The
there?
victim, identified as 17-year-old Austin Metcalf, was a Memorial High student. Investigators would learn the stadium was hosting a track and field championship with multiple schools in attendance. The stabbing took place under the Memorial High School pop-up tent in the visitors' bleachers. A witness would tell police he was sitting under the tent with his team and was near his teammate Austin as everything played out. Austin told the suspect, Karmelo, that he needed to move out from under their team's tent. Not only did Karmelo go to a different school, he was under their tent wearing Centennial High clothing. Karmelo grabbed his backpack, opened it, and reached inside telling Austin, "Touch me and see what happens."
Oh.
The witness told officers no one really thought Karmelo had any weapons, so Austin proceeded to touch Karmelo. Karmelo then told Austin to punch him and see what happens. A short time later, Austin grabbed Karmelo to tell him to move, and Karmelo pulled out what the witness described as a black.
Why can't you just leave? See, sometimes, I ain't gonna lie, sometimes a weapon can give somebody stupid courage. I ain't even say courage, because sometimes courage can be a good thing if you're going against a bully. But in this situation, this is stupid courage. You wanted something to happen, so you had a reason to do what you did. Yeah.
Knife, stabbing Austin once in the chest before running away. Austin began grabbing his chest, telling everyone to get help, and shortly after, he'd lose consciousness, stop breathing, and never wake up again. Two more witnesses were found breathing heavily and crying, one of which was identified as the victim's younger brother. He was unable to say much, but his friends said they were sitting on the bleachers under the Memorial High School tent. A male wearing a different school's clothes came and sat down, so Austin told him since he didn't go to Memorial, he had to leave the tent. While arguing, Austin was stabbed and the suspect ran.
Yeah, that was
Austin's younger
that was some
brother
sucker shit, my
held
boy.
on to his older
That was some
brother
sucker
as he
shit.
lost consciousness, bleeding out in his brother's arms. It was 10:46 a.m. when Austin was brought into the trauma.
That was some sucker shit right there. I ain't finna be on your side because you black, bruh. That was some sucker shit.
His heart had
You
been
did that on
pierced,
purpose.
and he bled to death. Officers listed student witnesses from Lebanon High, Liberty High, Memorial High, Frisco High, Independence High, and Emerson High. Centennial High's head coach told officers he heard his athlete confess to the stabbing, while two coaches from Independence High School witnessed the stabbing. Karmelo Anthony would be charged with first-degree murder and transported to the Collin County Jail. Under Texas law, even at 17 years old, Karmelo could and would be charged as an adult.
Yeah.
His bond would be set at $1 million.
You deserve that, my boy. You did that on
Immediately following
purpose.
his arrest, social media would divide black versus white. Some of the black community would come to the immediate defense of Karmelo, stating it was purely self-defense and he's only been arrested because of the fact that
No, fuck that. No, we ain't doing that one, bro. If it happened the way how Jake just read it, I believe he's reading from the transcript, and if it happened just like that and nothing else, you don't know this kid. It wasn't no bullying. It wasn't no other altercations. It wasn't no threats. It was nothing. He asked you, "Can you leave? Your school thing is not right here. You want a different color thing. Can you move?" All he had to do was leave. That's it. All you had to do was go move over, bro. That's it. But that him knowing that he had the knife was like, yeah, I'm waiting for anybody. Not just saying it was just him, but just anybody to try me, and I'm going. That's what I'm gonna do that. Sucker.
Victim is white. They'd also claim the victim in this case was the aggressor. While GoFundMe doesn't allow funding lawyers for criminal cases, apparently GiveSendGo does, and over $500,000 has been raised for Karmelo, with a list of donation comments raising concern amongst journalists. One anonymous donation would label Karmelo an anti-bullying hero, a scholar,
What bully? I mean, we don't know.
a donator named Black Excellence would donate again, stating, "The more these hateful whites show their insecurities and fragilities of losing dominance, sending love, light, and justice to King Karmelo."
That's dumb.
Rock from Atlanta would comment, "We are the defenders of our lineage. This is America, and these flat whiteness immigrants from all over the world has always been open enemies towards foundational black Americans from day one. No more." Some in the white community would also speak
nothing
out,
to do
stating
with
this
none of that.
wasn't self-defense.
None, not even close.
Murder. Many would be enraged at the fact that Austin's killer was being praised for being black and killing a white. The donations spoke for themselves, literally. And many have also stated if the races were reversed and the victim was black, there would be riots and looting.
Nah, I'm not on his side, bro. And again, this is based on this video. If it happened a way like that, that was not self-defense. Self-defense is somebody harming you. Somebody if he put out something and then you put out something and then he walked towards you, that's self-defense. He asked you to leave, bro. He could, even if he said, "Nigga, get your black ass up out of here." Them are words, bro. Them are words. You could have fired his chin up. Could have fired him up. Bing, 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 bing. You could have gave him that. But no, you said, "I'm gonna go in this backpack. I'm gonna grab this knife that I know I got. And if you touch me, I'm gonna use it." That's what that was. You could have used your hands, my boy. You could have used your hands. Cause then, and if it truly was, I wasn't say you wouldn't have ran, you wouldn't do a thing, but then sometimes you still would have did that. Anybody would have did that because you still don't know. Like, hey, you could have been 100% right and still don't know how things are gonna go, and got scared, got nervous, and ran. So therefore, I ain't gonna say that one. But for this one, if it happened just like that, nah, bro, I'm not on your side. Hell no.
Karmelo's actions in Austin's death was now being politicized and used by radicals on both sides to justify prejudice. In simple terms,
what's wrong with us, bro.
It didn't matter
That's wrong
who was
with,
right
wrong
or wrong
with
because
humanity.
the ones speaking out don't care about Karmelo or Austin. They care about their own agenda. Things would heat up again on April 14, 2025, when Judge Angela Tucker reduced Karmelo's bond from $1 million down to $250,000. She also agreed to release him based on his clean criminal record and his athletic/academic background. Karmelo would then be released under the conditions he wear an ankle monitor and be supervised by a parent at all times. Judge Tucker's decision would cause her to receive violent and racist threats on social media, leaving her with no choice but to privatize her Twitter. Judge Tucker's personal security has also been temporarily increased as the FBI investigate anyone who released private or personal information about her, as they plan to charge those responsible with unlawful disclosure of a resident's address or telephone number and obstruction.
They gotta stop getting. That's what I hate about humanity, bro. Like, it's just so many. It's just so much separation, bro. They gotta get off this. This situation had nothing to do with black and white. This had to do with wrong and right. That nigga was wrong, bruh. Like you could have used your hand. That did again based on the video. He didn't have no weapon. You did. You only got that courage because you had the weapon. If you didn't have it, you probably would have just walked off. And that's sucker shit.
Or retaliation. Karmelo and his family would also be targeted through death threats and harassment. People would visit his home, loitering and taking pictures, while others would make false food delivery orders and send hate mail, including Austin's obituary.
That's dumb.
It became common for people to circle the home
Especially the stranger at the door is
to
dumb.
essentially provoke fear and intimidation. Karmelo's family would have no choice but to use donation funds to relocate to an undisclosed location. But this harassment wasn't one-sided. Frisco police would receive a phone call reporting a shooting at Austin Metcalf's father's home. Another shooting would be reported at his mother's home. This would happen a total of 3 times, all 3 being fake reports known as swatting, in which an anonymous person contacts police and they respond to what they believe to be a violent situation. Swatting has even led to innocent people being killed by police. Austin's father, Jeff, has been making headlines himself as he attempted to make peace with his son's killer's family and pray together at a press conference held for Karmelo. Instead, he was escorted out by police, with Karmelo's family apparently uninterested in making amends.
What we seen at the beginning of this press conference, the father being at this press conference, these are my words, don't quote anybody, is a disrespect to the dignity of his son. That was disrespectful and just shows you all the character who is not invited. He knows that it's inappropriate to be near this family.
The main voice speaking for the Anthony family was not actually.
Yeah, true. In this moment, yeah, especially while people are mourning. But on a positive side of things, to make an amends, y'all because of what y'all sons have, because the altercation between y'all sons, how he say the city is divided, people are beefing, it's heated tension. That can probably resolve that. Even though it's probably gonna still make people even madder because they gonna be like, "What the hell are y'all doing?" But that probably would have been a good thing. You never know. Sometimes when it's like these governments, if these governments would come together, then their countries would not be at war, right? Or am I wrong?
A member, but the so-called minister Dominique Alexander. Describing himself as a minister of justice, political, civil, and human rights activist, and supporter of Black Lives Matter, his suit, tie, and slow way of speaking aligns with more of a gimmick from a man with an agenda. Come to find out, Dominique has a long criminal history himself and served prison time for abusing a baby. Back in July of 2009, he was babysitting his girlfriend's 2-year-old son when he called her telling her to get home now. He didn't tell her why, and when she arrived, the child was unresponsive.
Oh, hell no.
He'd claimed he'd walked into another room and heard the baby boy fall off the couch as he was watching a movie. When he walked back in, the boy's eyes looked funny, later telling a detective they rolled to the back of his head. The 2-year-old boy was placed in an intensive care unit and discovered to have a subdural hemorrhage at the back of his head.
I mean, babies do roll over. We all know that babies do roll over. They do fall off the bed. But why did you call the mom? Call the ambulance. Call for help. Get in the car and drive there. Hey, I'm at the hospital. Your baby fell off the bed. His eyes rolled. I didn't know what to do. I rushed here. Meet me there. That's what hell to the no?
meaning blood around his brain. He also had retinal hemorrhaging, meaning bleeding in both of his eyes.
Nah, bro.
The severity of the boy's injuries
From
were
one
more
fall?
consistent with falling off a couch and more consistent with abusive head trauma and physical abuse.
Come on, bro.
Dominique would later plead guilty in this case.
Come on, dog.
Dominique would address his multiple arrests from theft, forgery, stealing a car, making a false police report. The list goes on.
This nigga.
He'd say,
and you a
social
minister?
media tried to shame him, but ended up showing his testimony. That when he first stepped into activism in 2014, he didn't hide who he was, and he was even named Person of the Year for the Dallas Observer's People Edition in 2015. But in 2019, Dominique would be arrested for striking and pushing his girlfriend.
Dominique Alexander, the founder of the Next Generation Action Network, was indicted today.
That's why I don't trust these niggas, boy. That's why I don't trust every pastor, bro. That's why I don't, or minister, whatever he wants to be. That's why I don't trust men. I'm talking about, like, life, human beings. I don't trust y'all niggas, bro.
On a charge of continuous violence
lying.
against the family. That's a third-degree felony. He was arrested back in April after his girlfriend, Kiera Saunders, told police Alexander assaulted her. However, in an affidavit filed before today's indictment, Saunders says she doesn't want any part of the prosecution.
Regardless, this was the face of Karmelo Anthony's family. A man whose sole purpose is speaking against so-called racist police who target black men. He was now taking this opportunity to make Karmelo the victim who had to defend himself against his white attacker. So let's look at the facts. Karmelo was an athlete from Centennial High. During a track and field competition, he chose to sit under an opposing school's tent. Austin was an athlete from Memorial High and confronted Karmelo about being under his team's tent. Austin would grab Karmelo's backpack, telling him to leave, and eventually push Karmelo, while Karmelo would grab his backpack, reaching inside, telling Austin, "Touch me and see what happens." Austin would continue, which led to Karmelo pulling out the knife and stabbing him.
Could have fought, my boy.
Now my boy JD DeLay would
coulda
break
fought.
down Texas self-defense laws.
You could have fought, bro.
Constitutes lawful self-defense. It's all going to depend on what state you're in because each state has different laws. But for the sake of relevant current events, let's talk about the state of Texas. State of Texas has the best self-defense laws out of any state in the country. They have stand your ground laws, which means that you do not have to retreat. You're allowed to defend yourself if somebody threatens or physically harms you. But you're only allowed to use proportional violence. So if somebody's coming at you with hands and you shoot them, you could be in a lot of trouble. All depends on the valid and articulable threat that was there at the time. Somebody's coming after you with a gun or a knife, then you are definitely in your realm to be able to use lethal force. However, this does require that you did not instigate the incident and that you are not somewhere that you are not supposed to be. You instigated the incident. If you are somewhere you don't belong or if you use excessive force, self-defense is out the window. Like I said, this is specifically a...
And plus, you had all opportunity to leave. All opportunity to leave, bro. You wasn't backed into no corner. You wasn't in a little room and this one door. He's in front of it. Again, bro, I'm not being on this nigga's side just because he's black. That's what's wrong with society. People will pick somebody's side just because of the color of the skin that they're in. And that is dumb. That is dumb. Wrong is wrong. Right is right. He was wrong. You could have left. You could have moved. You could have scooted. You could have like, bro, if you care about this tent and this side so much, let me slide over. It's a bench. Let me slide over. Now I'm not up under your tent no more, bro. I'm gonna slide over. That's it. You could have slid over. And then if he still had a problem with it, while he's standing up, you could have bow, uppercut. That would have knocked him right down the bleachers. And then look. Come on, Red. Like I like not to make fun of this situation, but I'm saying it's so many other things that he could have did besides that. But again, Just like people have liquor courage and it makes them do dumb things, he had weapon courage and it made him do something dumb.
Applicable to the state of Texas and
Like,
their
let's
laws,
be
so know
honest,
the
y'all.
law
Wrong is
where you
wrong, right is
live.
right.
Might just
Forget
save your
what color
life
he
or
is.
keep your ass out of prison.
In this situation, not only was Karmelo somewhere he wasn't supposed to be, as he didn't go to Memorial High, and should have been with his own team, he was armed with a weapon he wasn't supposed to have.
And that's
His mere presence
school.
during a competition could be seen as provoking an opposing school. After being confronted, Karmelo would reach in his bag saying, "Touch me and see what happens." The fact that Karmelo ran track, if he was in fear for his life, he literally just could have ran. But in a stand your ground case, he doesn't legally have to. But Austin wasn't threatening to kill, use a weapon, or even beat him. He was telling him to leave. So Karmelo using deadly force as self-defense seems very unjustified.
No.
But also telling someone, "Touch me and see what happens," can qualify as instigating the incident. If a gang member walks to a rival gang's territory with an illegal weapon, daring a rival gang member to touch him so he can legally kill him, that doesn't qualify as self-defense.
On God.
So if an
On
opposing
God,
athlete sits in an
you
opposing
wasn't
team's
supposed to be
area
there.
with a concealed weapon and stabs someone when confronted, I don't see how he can claim.
That's facts. That's true as hell right there, bro. You knowingly went somewhere where you know you was not supposed to be. The story that Jake is using is a little bit more wilder, because these are gang members, but still, the narrative that a person goes somewhere that they're not supposed. A person comes into your house, right? You tell them to leave, and they tell you, "Touch me and see what happens." What do you mean, bro? Get up out of here. When they can easily turn around and leave. Again, if you felt something like that, bro, you could have fired him up. On bleachers, everybody, bleachers are slippery, bro. You gave him one good hook, and he would have folded.
Self-defense. Karmelo would show emotion, hysterically crying after the incident, even asking if Austin was okay. This shows compassion. Bro. And while a former FBI agent claims from her experience Karmelo was using an insane Vice Lord's gang sign while holding an AK-47, the full picture would show Karmelo at a friend's house holding a BB gun in which the orange tip has been removed. No more extreme than Austin and his brother.
Yeah, come on, bro. Like, that's why we say I hate when they be breaking that type of stuff up.
He came from a nice job.
I hate when they do that. Like, it'll be like, sorry, hey, who has gang ties, right? They got into a whole nother altercation with somebody else, somebody random, somebody who had, they say, somebody who has street ties get into it with somebody who doesn't have street ties, and then the person who doesn't have them analyze the person who had them, and they will bring that up. Oh, this person has street ties, and they did this, and they did that. Bro, that is irrelevant. That has nothing to do with this situation.
With two parents,
I hate when like news do that. That'd be so dumb.
Football team and track team. Should he have had a knife? No. But how many teen boys have carried pocket knives? Just because he's black doesn't mean he was looking to stab someone that day. I think teenage pride and ego led to an irreversible decision.
It's like how they say guns don't kill people, stupid people kill people. In this moment, in this situation, he was stupid. He made a very, very stupid, dumb mistake because he had that. If I guarantee, I can't even say I guarantee because I don't know him, but I got a feeling if he didn't have that, he would have left. That made his pride go up. I got this. This is protection. I know if I pull this out, you're gonna back down, and I'm gonna be able to sit right here.
I think regret and compassion should weigh on the scale of justice. I don't think Karmelo was innocent of murder, but I also don't think he placed himself there with the intent to kill.
Probably
Looking
not,
at their
but that was
athletic
dumb.
stats, Austin was 6 foot tall and 220 pounds, while Karmelo was 5'10", 175 pounds. Karmelo resorted to a weapon
that's
out
what it
of
was.
fear, but I don't believe he feared for his life. I believe he feared he'd get beat up. Unfortunately, I don't think this fear meets the legal qualification to kill someone in self-defense.
Nah.
I also
This
feel
is it's still weapon courage, bro. Again, if he didn't have it, he would have left.
Saying, "Touch me and see what happens." When Austin touched him, he then said, "Hit me and see what happens." It would be different if he displayed the knife and told him he's prepared to defend himself. In the end, a teenage athlete died while another faces prison. And countless people with nothing better to do are using this to fuel political agendas. Now, this case is tragic.
This is dumb.
Controversial. There's a lot of elements to this case, right? And it's going to be difficult for them to find jurors that haven't been swayed by the media in this situation. The biggest topic with this is going to be race and racism. You have Dominique Alexander, the spokesperson for the family, who used the roughly 40 minutes of the press conference to basically race bait and play the victim role as a black man in America, while not confronting his 20 to 30 arrests and the fact that his only victims from physical crimes seem to be a baby boy and a woman, right? That's what he's been arrested for. He was convicted for abusing the baby, and both of them in that situation were black. But he chooses to now classify himself as an activist and only goes after situations involving white people, which we also see with Black Lives Matter. They only speak out when a white person is involved. This situation is being blown out of proportion by radicals.
And it's not even ran by all black people anyway.
Who tried to make amends with the family and was met with dismissal. He has even expressed to white radicals that are trying to push this white agenda, look, I don't believe in y'all's bullshit. This isn't a race thing. This is two teenagers and something unfortunate that happened. Yes. But I'm not siding with racists. I'm not siding with bullshit. I'm just trying to get over the fact that my son was killed.
That's what this is, bro. This is two teens who made a dumb decision.
You know what I mean? And that's
he shouldn't have touched him, and he shouldn't have had that knife, and he shouldn't have used it.
Karmelo was scared, but I don't think that fear is enough to justify stabbing somebody in the eye. In my opinion.
No, because if you were still in fear, that fear would have still told you to leave. You wasn't in a position to where you had nowhere to go. If his size, his height, whatever made you think like, all right, if I try to fight him, he gonna whoop my ass. All right. If I know for a fact I can't do that. If I'm backed into a corner, if it's only I'm in a room, no windows, one way out. I got this. Hey, by all means, defend yourself. Hell yeah, because ain't no telling how that's finna go. But in this situation, you're on the bleachers with all these people. You had somewhere to go. You could have left, my boy. That's the whole thing about it. You could have left. You could have moved. You could have scooted over. Something. But the knife made you to feel like, all right, I'm not moving. I'm standing right here. You're not going to make me leave. When it's like, you wasn't even supposed to be right there anyway. Like, this ain't like, you know how, back in the day, the white water, the colored water. No, this is water. I don't want to drink it. I'm going to stand here. You still kind of moving, kind of reckless, but hey, stand your ground if you feel like that's what you need to do. But that situation, everybody has their own tent, their own sections, bro. That's like being in a club and going to somebody else's section. Nigga, you know what's gonna happen, bro. Why you in that nigga section?
How I think this case will play out. how it should play out and how it will play out are two different things. I think based on all of the evidence, him admitting to it, the fact that he showed compassion, the fact that, you know, he's a flawless student, he's an athlete.
Might get probation.
Maybe that this, you know, at best would get brought down to a manslaughter type of offense. I don't know the legalities in Texas, how that would work if they have a manslaughter charge. This was a heat of the moment type of thing. I don't think he had the intent to kill. I also don't necessarily see him flat out beating this. But because of the political agendas being pushed in this case and the fact that, you know, Karmelo now has over $500,000 to play with as far as his legal defense, you might see him walk with some crazy amount of probation or something along those lines. Due to the fact that he has no criminal history, he has a lot of money to afford a defense, and this case is being politicized. And we've seen, you know, it's become a norm in certain inner cities that it's racist to put high bonds on minorities, even if people are running around shooting people. So we've seen people get caught with guns, shoot people, etc.
Yeah, I feel like when it comes to the bond thing, them high bonds you go for people who one can afford them, two for like very serious cases like school shootings. Yeah, very high bond, bro. You like that was crazy. What the hell was you doing? This is two kids. This is even though somebody was unalive. I don't think that high super high bond should be right, especially when again these are two kids who made, even though one made the ultimate dumb decision, but these are two kids. Come on.
Bond out and then kill somebody, and then the city is like, well, why the fuck did he get let out? Well, it's like, well, because it's racist if we don't let him out.
That's the only thing though. Like,
I'm pretty sure we can
unalive and unalive though. At the end of the day, like, wrong is wrong, right is wrong. And he was, in my opinion, was in the wrong, bro. You could have moved.
Shit going on, and that's the, you know, that's the problem right now that everyone's having, is that now they're saying that there is black privilege in which
where
$500,000 has been raised and people are openly praising Karmelo's actions for killing a bully, versus if the roles were reversed, it would play out entirely different. I don't think Karmelo's a thug. I don't think he should be punished as if he is. And I don't think he should be portrayed as one either. I've had pocket knives since I was like 10 years
old.
I brought him to school. Cool.
Shouldn't a bully be classified as somebody that's picking on you all the time?
That's normal shit.
This thing asked you to leave, bro. Their tent.
He took a picture with a BB gun. They tried to frame it to make it look like he had an AK. He's throwing up gang signs. Bro, I done seen NBA players throw shit up. Everybody's just trying to look fucking cool, right? That doesn't mean he's a fucking insane vice lord. And then it's no different when you look at the two brothers with real guns and camo gear because they're country boys, and one of them's throwing a middle finger. It's the same thing, bro. People are just trying to portray this to fit their narrative, and that's the fucking issue with America. At the end of the day, the kid shouldn't have stabbed him, but he fucking showed compassion. He broke down hysterically crying. He asked if he was gonna be okay. This isn't a bad kid. He made a bad fucking mistake, and he's gonna have to answer to that. But hey, it's 1090 Jake.
Yeah, that's crazy, man. Still condolences. I'm still not picking his side because again, you could have left. You could have moved. You didn't have to go sit right there. You even if he is way bigger than you, you felt that you was gonna lose the fight. You could have shoved the hell out of him. One good, heavy, strong shove, he would, bro, you're on bleachers. Bleachers are slippery. You're going to fall. That would have gave you enough time to, if you felt like he was going to put belt to, you could have left, bro. There's so many other things that he could have did besides that. But I feel like that weapon, the knife, made him stay like, hey, I'm not moving. I'm not going nowhere because I got this, and you ain't gonna do nothing about it. No.